It's early in the morning when the birds sing in the pines. The sun peeks through the forest where the...
Hello axe fans, welcome to what's more of a tutorial about file sharpening the axe. I love file sharpening axes, I really do. I really enjoy it, I've grown to love it. And there were so many things I wish someone had told me when I started out. Just would have saved me money, time, and answered a lot of questions about what the heck you're trying to do. And once you get it, it's so simple and really can produce an outstanding edge. Really great, really sharp. Yeah, I mean, you might not even need a lot of stonework. So post any questions you have in the comments below and I'll get back to you on what I know. Thanks. So when you're just starting out as a beginner to use a file to sharpen an axe or to sharpen any tool really, like a machete or whatever your lawnmower blade, it's hard to imagine that there's different quality of files. It's a very simple tool, right? But boy, was I wrong about different quality files. There's a huge difference. Here are a couple cheaper files that I had tried and used. This is a Craftsman 8-inch bastard file. Here's a specially marketed axe file by Nicholson, made in Mexico, that I bought online and used for a while. And the results, frankly, were kind of mediocre, kind of frustrating. They don't cut that good. They wear down pretty quickly. That's the outcome. So eventually, I started to experiment with better files that you could buy, new files that you could buy, because I didn't have vintage files. If you get one of these great vintage files from these great makers and it's cutting well, man, hang on to that. It is a prized possession. I'd love to get a hold of some of those and try them out. Well, there's two file types I can recommend wholeheartedly, 5 stars. These are outstanding files, and they're the only ones I use now. One is a Stella Bianca. It's an Italian-made file. It's a double cut file, and you can get these from Baronix Knife Company online. They're really inexpensive, and they're outstanding. They're really hard. The hardness is up there. They wear very well, and they do a great job. Of course, it's a double cut file, so it just rips up that metal. It's good. So, it's not good for finishing, but it's great for going. And then I discovered, almost basically by accident, a file sold by Sun Valley Ski Tools here in my hometown, SVST, all right? And it's a ski racing file, and they're really expensive, right? And I'm like, I'll try this, okay. These are their super chrome files. This is the 8-inch, and this is the 10-inch. And boy, they're amazing. These are amazing files. And so now this 10-inch file with this handle I got on Amazon is my go-to tool. I love this. This makes filing fun. So I think it's about a $20 file, maybe $17.95. I don't know. 2 of these, 3 of these, 1 of these. You make the choice. So our subject today is a Wayland Vale Black Prince Puget Sound head. Look at that. Is that awesome or what? Wayland Vale is a Canadian company. And as the name suggests, the Puget Sound pattern was designed by Pacific Northwest lumbermen to work on the great stands of giant redwoods and other trees. Sometimes the diameter of those old trees were 10, 15, maybe 20 feet in diameter sometimes, or more. And you had to cut them down by hand. So they needed an axe with enormous reach. And sometimes these long 14-inch heads were mounted on axe handles 44 inches long, just huge, so they could just get up there on their stands and hack away at sections of the tree with a lot more reach. And so as you can see there, I've been working on it quite a while, and I've got 3 of the edges done. All right, and we're just going to work on this last edge. So let's get it set up and I'll tell you about it. All right, so the grind I've chosen for this particular axe head is a 25-degree flat grind. All right, and that's what we got going here. This one's done. That's 25 degrees, and it's basically flat, like a Scandi grind. So it forms a really precise chisel, and a lot of the premium axe makers in the world, several of them, use a 25-degree flat grind on their best axes, with good reason. It's an outstanding grind. It really works well, all right? The 25-degree angle is aggressive and sharp. It's easy to maintain. And at least with the woods I have access to, which are mostly softwoods, is true. It really splits the wood powerfully. It spits out chips really well. It's just outstanding. All right, it's a great grind just for any axe in terms of performance. And I actually recommend it as a great place to start. If you're just starting out, you're a beginner with file sharpening an axe. this is a great grind to start with. All right, I'll show you the technique. It makes it a little bit easier to get a smooth transition, right, from the shined filed bevel to the rest of the axe, and it performs great. So great place to start, and we'll just finish this one up because I got one more to go. Right there. I got to do that one. So if you have just an axe head, you can use a vise. You can lay the axe head in a vise, and you don't need a whole lot of pressure. It just needs to be secured, you know. Get your filing. You don't want too much damage to the head, but you're just nice and secure in there. And you want to kind of elevate it up towards you. So I'm going to be working on this edge. So it's elevated up just a little bit. All right, it saves me a little bit of angle and gives me a little more precision when I'm working on it. If your axe head's already on a handle, you can still use a clamp, right? You can go to the edge of your bench and you can just use a clamp, all right, either on the axe head itself or on the handle, and clamping down that way. That's fine too. It totally works. And it's one of the benefits of file sharpening. It's really easy, right? You need a vise, an axe, and a file. That's it. So there's basically two techniques for file sharpening an axe, okay? One, I call draw filing, and there may be another term for it, but it's where you take the file, and usually a smaller one like this, and you kind of hold it like thus, right? Your one hand forms a pivot, and your other hand is the action, right? And what you do is you start the file like a jig, instead of gig, like a jig, right? You start to file across it like this, and particularly if you're trying to get a flat grind, because that's the grind you're putting on it, right? It's just like a knife jig or anything else. You just start to wear away and grind up that metal, okay? All right, so we won't be doing that. We'll be doing the push file method, and that's where you take your file and you push it along the axe like you're trying to grind, right? You just push it this way, okay? Push file method. And even for a flat grind is a great way to go. I'll show you how. Okay, you always want to wear gloves when filing an axe. Particularly using the push file method, right? Because the action that we're using here is going right into the axe blade, okay? It's going right in there, okay? And it's going to get sharp. It's sharp now. If I were to slip and go hard and hit my edge or hit my hand, it would hurt a lot. I cut myself. That would ruin the project. So always use gloves, all right? And another safety feature, I don't have it today. I have a handle on here, but you could get an axe guard or a file guard, right? It's just a piece of metal right there. So if you go in there, it hits the guard. It doesn't hit your hand, all right? Like a sword, all right? It's the same kind of thing. Okay, so flat grinds, all right? The concept's simple, but the technique to get there, it takes a little bit of experience. And, I've done quite a few, and it is remarkable. For most axes, all right, to get a 25-degree flat grind, the secondary relief bevel, meaning like, okay, there's the edge, and we're going to file the bevel, all right? It's going to be very flat, right? But it's going to get to a point where it just levels off and the rest of the axe goes in a different direction, okay? It's not going to be at our angle. And where that transition is for 25 degrees is about 12 to 13 millimeters. There's a little knowledge for you. It's remarkably consistent. It comes out 12 to 13 millimeters from the edge. So have that experience. I can mark it. I have right there, and it gives me an idea of where I'm going, right? Where my flatness needs to go. And I can imagine the whole bevel being 12 to 13 millimeters in that direction. So what I need to do is start to work on this high spot. It's basically a high spot. This is all got to go, right? And so one of the things that makes this easy is how simple that is right there. I know where to start, okay? I start right there on the high spot. I made the mistake, and I would often start on the edge. I would often start like right down here. Like I'm gonna get sharp really quick, okay? And it just seemed like the thing to do. You're sharpening the edge, right? And I didn't realize that really what you're doing is you're shaping the whole bevel, and it brings the metal to an edge. All right, and if you think of that, the edge is the last thing you do. Like the edge is almost just a consequence of this process. You'll do a lot better. You'll do a lot better. You start down here on the edge of the axe right away,
it gets a very, very steep angle. You know, you'll get sharp, it gets steeper and steeper, meaning like 35, 37, 40 degrees. That's not sharp. That's not the sharp, penetrating, aggressive axe you want, right? I want 25 degrees. I want to kill that wood, okay? So the edge will be the very last thing we do. In fact, the edge will just come about by itself once we get the flat bevel established, and we just keep smoothing it and keep refining it, okay? If you have any questions, please post them in the comments, all right? I have no idea who's watching this, and I have no idea what you think. So, if you read a book, it gives you lots of diagrams and stuff about where you hold the file and the angle and things. And so when I started out and I read those books, right, you know, axe lore, I'd get all obsessed about it. And what I found is, you know what the angle is? The angle is wherever you're removing metal. If you're removing metal, you have a good angle. Okay, it's that simple. You don't have to freak out too much about, oh, is it this way, it's that way. We're simply cutting the metal, and you can see right now, this is a really good file, and with very minimal pressure. I'm not really putting pressure on this at all. It's already removing metal at a good clip. Okay, and a nice, beautiful, you know, crescent shape all the way across the relief bevel it has now. And so we're going to keep working on this until we get it down to the flat grind we want. Now, how easy is this? This isn't hard, okay? You don't need a PhD to do this. Nice, smooth, long strokes, a good file. It's going right away. Okay. All right, here's a good place to stop. Just kind of see what's happening more up close, right? And so there you go. There's a little mark. You can see the little mark. That's where we're going. We've flattened down the bevel that's on it quite a bit. You can see it's just working down. And that's what we're trying to do. This is the best way. Haven't even touched the edge. Look, it's like 2-3 millimeters still to the edge. I'm doing that on purpose because I want to bring this whole thing down from here, and as I get closer to the mark, okay, we're going to get closer to the edge. It's just going to fall into place, and then you'll find yourself on the edge and producing a burr on the other side with a very flat, even surface. Now, it's pretty straightforward, and it's not unusual to kind of have a wavy grind. See, it's not quite the same way here on the ends. All right, always the heel and the toe of axes always have something a little different, some little geometry. And as we get closer, we can address that to try to make that as even as possible. And it's just a little different technique, okay, when doing that. So here we go. Okay, in my experience, usually an axe is thicker in the middle, from side to side, thicker in the middle than it is on the ends. Okay, the center line is higher in the middle than the width of the ends. Okay, that means there's more metal in the middle than there is on the ends. And as you keep going with your grind, you need to be aware of that to get, you know, flatness all the way along, you're probably going to have to spend more time on the center and kind of really focusing on that middle third of the bevel than you are on the ends. Another rookie mistake that I have made, right? Not doing this, not spending more time in the center. I'll find out I get the grind I want in the middle, and the ends are like 3-4 degrees even more aggressive. Like I've gone beyond, you know, to get a nice even 25 or whatever your angle is you're trying to do. Just be aware that there's more metal in the center, and so for it to be even, heel to toe, probably got to spend time in the middle. Okay, there's, in terms of technique, some ideas about technique, some tips, right? You can do quite well with very minimal pressure. I'm just barely, dragging the file over it. And this makes really nice, smooth lines, and we'll do this for sure, just like this, really light, to kind of dress up the edge when we're first done. But, if you're tired, you're just like la-di-da, listening to music, this is good, okay? But, one of the dreaded disasters of filing, right, is if you're going along and your file just skips, right? Just skips all over, and you grind this big file right into your nice axe, right? It could happen. It could be like a beautiful logo right there, right? And you're just jam right into it. This is very frustrating, okay? It's very frustrating. And so here's a technique that gives you both some real control and power when you're filing, okay? So kind of the key to a smooth transition is always that the angle you're grinding on is quite a bit different than this angle behind us. So there's a nice edge. That's what I mean. There's a nice edge there. So it allows your file to just work on that edge and slowly work it back, all right? If you're doing like a convex grind, or that angle starts to get really close to each other, your file's just floating. And it can just float on top and go across the edge and kind of ruin your transition, okay? So sometimes when I need, I really want to smooth stuff out, I want control, okay, I will put my handle hand right on my hip, right here on my hip, and I'll put a lot more pressure, okay, I'll use a lot more pressure on this hand, okay, and I'll push that file right into where I want to do it, and I'll just use my whole hip to just grind a lot harder over the surface, okay? You go slower, there's a lot more control, all right? And so it's good to switch this up sometimes, and you work the whole edge with some stronger strokes just to smooth out high spots and to keep it even, okay? See that? And so this steel's great. It's great to work with. I can really see where I'm working. I can see the grinds and the tracks of what I'm doing. So I can always keep up where I want to be, keep it even, work on some high spot I found, and they'll develop. And even consciously avoiding the edge, I'm already kind of down to it. I'm already getting there because just, that flat grind's starting to roll in, and I'm about, I don't know, millimeter and a half out of my target point. So I'm going to keep working the top all the way. And this is also the point where you got to start really thinking about the heel and the toe, the ends here. You can see they kind of go in different directions, all right? So what do you do about that? Okay, so the ends are just inevitably gonna be different a little bit, okay? And you just always almost get this curve, right? Where it just curves off because the metal's starting to slope off, almost in every axe, starting to slope. It's not straight across, it starts to slope down a little bit. It makes sense, that's how it is, okay? So, like I said, this is an OCD check. Do you care about that? Or not? It will not change the function of the axe one bit if you have these little curves at the end. But for aesthetic purposes, sometimes you want to get them as little as possible. I'm kind of that way sometimes. So what you got to do is you have to really focus on each one. You just got to be like, all right, I'm going to work on this now. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do the rest of the bevel for a while. And you just get right up there and you change your angle. You got to come at it more like you're right on top of it, coming from a different angle. And I start out really easy to see where I'm filing, but the more you turn your body, you see how it's leveling out? The more you start to turn, okay, really as if you're going to start filing from this end now, right? I'm sort of rotating through it. It's, you got to be careful because this is unknown territory and you could skip your file very easily. But if you work it like that, and you're kind of rotating around, it flattens them out quite a bit, even to the point where you can do an attack straight on. Like, we're just going to file straight up this mother right here, okay, to work on that little edge. So this is tedious. This is why I say it's an OCD check. I'm going to work on it a while, but there's no effect on the performance of the axe. And if you don't care, don't get in the habit of caring unless you just want to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, once we're in the closing stages, we're now, we're down back to the mark, right? We're about to go past it, we're about to file it down. I've done what I can do on the ends, okay? I think I'm okay with that. So, if you remember, we've been working on the top edge of this bevel for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes now. That's all we've been doing, okay? And it's flatter than it was, but this is not really flat. It's not really flat because we're constantly working on that edge. And I go back a little to try to flatten it out, but without some conscious flattening, we're in the final stages now. And that's kind of what you do at the end with a flat grind. Is you're there, the bevel's set, you're down to the edge, you're taking off metal. The important thing now at this point is to really start to get flat across the whole thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to file across the whole surface, all right? And the goal is no longer to push it back and avoid the edge. The goal is now we are flattening this bevel. Tip to toe, we are flattening it, okay? And what is helpful, see? I don't know if you can see that, but when you realize, I put my thumb right on top of the bevel, all right? Put it right there. And it just it gives me a little more feel for it, right? And usually, I've been like this so far, so it feels like, oh, I'm going back and I'm running the edge. But I'm not tilting it down. I'm just going straight across the top, straight across the surface. All right, it feels pretty flat. But you'll see you're filing, now that you're focusing on flat, you'll see those high spots you've left behind. You'll see them now filing up. And I'll do these long strokes are helpful. They really drag across. And you just got to be patient and really careful at this point, keeping your file as flat as possible. And it's better to go with long strokes because then it tends to level it out, and flat. Eventually, the scratches, that you're leaving get very uniform, and you stop seeing waves, you stop seeing high spots. It's just smooth all the way across. This is what I'll do now, just this, quite a while, just very patiently flattening. It cleans it up really nice. Okay, that was fun. So we pull it off here. And yeah, now we got a nice burr on this side. See, so we pushed it all the way back onto the other angle, like you would sharpening an axe, right? And I get a piece of leather like a strop. I don't use my strops on this because it can ruin your strop, actually. Because it just happened to me. You start stropping this really heavy roll into a strop, a lot of it comes off and stays in the strop. And this becomes this little gritty metal thing in the strop. And that ruined your strop. That's no good. That was bad. So I will, I'm going to strop this just to start to get excess metal off. But I'm just using this piece of leather, just to roll it a little bit. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to see it. It's awkward. I don't want you to see it, but you get the picture, right? And it doesn't all come off. It's still quite rough. But wow. Okay. Woo! All right, that is tight. That is a great apex. Boom. Oh, 25 degrees. 25 on the Black Prince. All right.
It's early in the morning when the birds sing in the pines. The sun peeks through the forest where the cold river climbs. The men are up at 5 o'clock and to the trees at 6. Hard day's work, a good night's sleep is all they ever mix. Way, hey, another brand new day on the wild and windy shores of old Superior.